What's happening, everybody? Welcome back to Redemption with Jaden. On this week's video, I'll be practicing my auctioneer voice, which we already got that part out of the way, so don't worry about that. I'll probably be coughing or a lot because I'm just getting over a cold, so you'll have to forgive that part of the video because probably, well, I might edit some of them out, or I'll just try not to do them as much as possible. We'll probably go with that. And lastly, the most important part of the video, we're going to be returning to the arena of classicness for just one more week here, most likely, going back before last week's live stream chronologically, but after for you guys, because this is when we're watching it, but seeing a game between Jake and Jay, two J's, and we have both of them in the top cut from last week, top cut of the Lackey Grand Prix number 8, which was the classic one. Both of them were in the top 4, and so we got to see them play last week. If you haven't watched that full live stream, it was a little bit messy, so I apologize for that, but I was trying to stream both of the first round games at the same time, sort of, or like kind of going back and forth, trying to kind of keep tabs on both of them. And also we had some conflicts and delays going on, so the timing of the games was a little bit messed up, but I tried to keep up with both of the games as best as I could, and eventually got it to a point where I could just like switch back and forth, and it was kind of nice. And I don't know, I might try it again sometime. I might try to figure out if I can like get 4 games at the same time, just watch them all, do commentary, and no, that'll probably be stressful to watch, but and to commentate over, but no, well, we'll stick to one for at least this video, so hopefully that'll be a little bit more relaxed for both me and for you. And this game was during the Swiss rounds. I believe it was the last round of Swiss for Lackey Grand Prix number 8. It might have been the 3rd round, now that I think about it. I don't remember off the top of my head. Jake recorded the game. He sent it to me a little while ago, getting ready. I guess it was the week before Mr. Classic, or I guess kind of the week leading up to Mr. Classic. I was not sure if I was going to use it or not. I ended up doing a video where I went through every single classic card, or scroll card, that you may or may not, that you may see in classic or scrolls only gameplay, at least the ones that you're probably like most likely to see. And that was going through like 2,500 total cards, or like kind of skimming through those, so it was a bit of a long video, but it was kind of fun to get it all together and go through everything and lose my voice a little bit. So anyways, I'm going to be recording, or I guess now showing you the game that they recorded, and I will be doing some commentary on it. And I haven't watched the game yet. I've been kind of trying to figure out what the best approach for doing videos like this is. Like, in some regards, it's good for me to watch it ahead of time, so I know what to expect, and I know, or I kind of have some of the thoughts already that I want, or like points that I want to make, or things to touch on. But I also think that it's kind of fun because then, like, you and I can watch the game fresh together, and we can get some maybe have some of the same ideas at the same time, but I'm the one who gets to talk to you, and so I'm going to be pointing those things out, and that, I don't know, just feels a little more inclusive. But I don't know, whichever, you guys should let me know which you think is best in the comments. You like, if you like videos like this to begin with, I guess, like, even where I'm not playing, I'm just doing commentary. Like, hopefully that's not just a massive turnout for you that you have to listen to my voice a whole bunch here, but if it isn't, then let me know what kind of format you would like to see these videos be done in. And you can also, like, I don't know, sometimes it's nice to be able to have the players in the background, and that's what I typically do for the tournament live streams. Try to have the players in the background, and then if there's commentary, we do that over that. We don't typically have live commentary, I guess, for tournaments, but for Mr. Classic, at least, that's what we did. Is we had the tournament or the player audio in the background, kind of try to be a little quieter, and then the commentator audio on kind of the foreground. And I think that went all right. It was kind of nice to see what the players were saying. But for this video, for this time around, I'm going to be just listening to their audio and then doing commentary on top of that, but you guys won't hear that. So that way I know I can point out, some of the things that they're doing, like indicating their woes, targets, whatever. Anyways, you guys don't really care a whole lot about all of my inner thought process that's going into this, but I do care about what you guys think of the format of these kind of commentary videos, so feel free to let me know, reach out via Discord, or just leave a comment here. That would be great. And I don't actually know. I mean, I can guess at what decks they're playing. I know that Jay did not play Flood for this one, so I'm not sure. I don't remember exactly what he played. I feel like he told me, but honestly, I don't remember. I think it was similar to the deck that John played at the Classic Weekend tournament. So that was kind of just like an NT good stuff, almost like a little bit of Disciples, the Bethany Trio, just some gospel good stuff there. And Jake, I believe, was just running his NT Gold Thieves deck for the whole tournament, maybe, possibly. I don't know. I know he adjusted it here and there for different games, but I believe that's the one that he's using for this video. So anyways, let's go ahead and get into it after a quick break here, and we'll come back and start the video. Start watching the video. Watching the game. You're already watching the video. I'm not watching a video yet. Okay, anyways, let's do it.
This video is sponsored by Your Turn Games, a retailer of Redemption CCG with various products, such as singles, sealed product, and great deals on bundles like battle boxes and grab bags. They also have pre-built decks, such as Challenger decks in the $55 range, Contender decks in the $80 to $95 range, and Champion decks in the this deck just placed at Nationals last year range. They also have card supplies to keep you caught up on all of your gaming needs, and at no cost to you, they have Redemption resources such as the latest Redemption news, rules, tournaments that are coming up, and Redemption content such as this. So head on over to yourturngames.biz today, and a big thank you to them for supporting this content.
Okay, and it's time to get it started. Let's see what they do here. Alright, so right away, Jake draws some cards. We already see some classic staples right there, or at least, one of them. We see an Uzza. The problem with doing the commentary this way, not doing it live, or like watching it on Lackey, is that I can't choose what cards to hover over, so I'm just going to have to read them for you. But anyways, I will try to keep up with that as much as I can, just giving you guys the abilities as they come up. But Uzza, he's just a jump block that you can discard him and an artifact from your hand or artifact pile to protect lost souls from rescue. So it's a pretty difficult block to stop. You kind of have to either prevent it, protect lost souls, or have something that negates the last evil character that left battle, which there are only a few cards that do, and it's pretty much for the express purpose of negating Uzza. Also, Deceiver can be a way. But anyways, so we see the NT Gold Thieves here in Jake's deck, and we see a Zacchaeus come down from Jay. He has the Darkness Lost Soul and the Crowd's Lost Soul, and is using Darkness to play Zacchaeus, which the evil side is territory class, and I think it's while you control another thief, negate enhancements in opponent's territory, or maybe it's just good enhancements. And here we've got Jake with a Lawless trigger, revealing his own top six. And we see another classic card, Nebuchadnezzar. And he's got a few decent options here. Nebi is really nice to have right away, but it doesn't really do anything for him if he's going first. Oh, I guess he's going second because, yeah, Jay already activated his Lost Souls. Um, let's see. I feel like I would go with Nebi here because you can get kind of the most value on the first turn block. Like, you could block with Uzza, but you would have to discard the golden cherub, or he would have to discard the golden cherubim in his hand, which I feel like he doesn't really want to do at this point. It's better to wait on Uzza until you have better options. I can also see a justification for taking Confusion here. You can get that Uzza block just discarding Confusion of Mind, which isn't as important of an artifact. I mean, I guess even Golden Cherubim isn't that important, but um, all right. So Jay is getting started here, and he's just going all out, dropping 7 cards. He had one card left in his hand, and it was Mayhem. So that was crazy. He could empty his entire hand. Got a Rebecca, Aaliyah, an Abraham, Judah, Jehu, Israel's Bow, and Deceiver. So with Mayhem there, he gets to drop his, drop everything. He has a hand of 0, and then he just gets to draw 6 cards, which, yeah, it's a pretty crazy start. So Jake now has 9 cards in hand, so he's just doing a random 6, which he kept Son of God and Second Coming there, which is interesting. It's not really what you want in the first turn. Having Son of God and Second Coming in your hand right away, because they just kind of take up space, and you won't necessarily have Lost Souls to do them with. But yeah, that's it's you want to have them early, but not too early. So Jay drew a Prosperity off of the Mayhem, Prosperity Lost Soul, so he discarded his own Nebuchadnezzar to get the draw 2. Maybe kind of expecting that he's going to be going through a lot of cards here and won't have much left in his deck for Nebuchadnezzar to go to, which is pretty reasonable. He plays Faith of Abraham, already has Abraham in play, but he places it on Abraham, so now if he's blocked, he can play a Cloud or Genesis enhancement. And he also has site access, so, that's a thing. Alright, so Jehu coming out, starting a battle here, and he has Israel's Bow on him, so he gets to bounce a character, I think just, any character. So he bounces his own Deceiver, and then because of Jehu's ability of using a weapon, Jake has to discard an evil card from hand. It's kind of a tough choice here. Yeah, I think Left 4 Dead is probably what I would go with there as well. Keep that Wages around, keep the Highwayman, and really, I mean, his block here is probably going to want to be Highwayman to get some drawing, banning to Condemned Thief to see what Jay's got going on in his hand. He's definitely drawn more cards than Crowds, allows, or or the limit is the Crowd's Lost Soul. So Abraham comes out. He searches for, I guess, 3 visitors, and 3 visitors exchange for Jacob, follower of God, and Jacob searching for covenant with Noah and banning to old school Simeon. That's kind of fun. So this is just kind of a blue hand control deck, it seems, which now that I see that, I do remember Jay telling me about that. That is just kind of like a Patriarch's hand control. So you get Jehu using the weapons, and then Levi getting some hand control there too if you have a female Genesis hero in play, which explains the Leah and the Rebecca. Both of them are decent. They work well with Patriarchs, but they don't get used a whole lot. They're not like prioritized, I guess. so let's see. Yeah, it looks like there are 5 good brigades in play that Jay has. Purple, red, clay, blue, and green. So Highwayman is going to be a D5 here. And you can also, like, he doesn't have his Condemned Thief. I would have been curious uh how many targets he has for wages, like in reserve and stuff that he like would actually need to get to, because I don't know, I'd be tempted to discard wages over Condemned Thief. But he does have Jay's Zacchaeus that he can ban to get an extra draw and then put, his character on the line. But Jake does decline to ban here. That's interesting. I feel like I would ban no matter what here. Um, Can't think of a reason not to ban to Jay's Zacchaeus. But it looks like Jay should have the option then to trigger Faith of Abraham to play a Cloud or Genesis enhancement. But it looks like he is foregoing that, and he's going to give Jake initiative. So Jake is going to get to play some Pilfer, play a Pilfer. um, and he wants to take Abraham, which actually if he targets Abraham, Abraham is a placed card on him. I believe that the placed card would go to Jay's hand. Because like by default it follows, but by default cards go to the hand of the owner. Like for a bounce or something like that. Like if if you take your opponent's character and then you bounce it, it would go to their hand. And the same sort of thing should be if you're taking and there's a place card on the take. It's like if you take a fortress that has an artifact active on it, you would not take the artifact as well. The artifact would go to their hand. All right, so wages is okay. So Jake plays wages here to search for Christian Martyr, and then using the ability to discard a hero in battle rather than underdecking it. And so now he's just going to play Martyr on Jacob. And that was, that was a pretty good block. Highwayman is very solid against rainbowy offenses. And like now, Jake is going to get to draw 3 more cards to set up his turn. And, that should be a pretty crazy good turn for him here. Draws us 3. He already has Herod's Temple in hand, so he does not use the star on Zerubbabel, but he does use a star on Day of Judgment to play a Lost Soul from his own deck. Unfortunately, he can't play one from Jay's deck because of the Crowd's Lost Soul protecting Jay's territory, or protecting his deck. I did see a Remnant in there. That, seems like that's what Jake's going to go for. He can't go to his reserve first round, but he can take a character in play. So he can take Jehu from Jay's territory. And he'll probably get some. You can probably get some good value from using Jay's Jehu, because it's Jehu is just a free trigger basically. Like he gets the trigger on using a good enhancement. So Herod's Temple comes down. Jake's got Good Seed as his 1 territory class enhancement for the turn. I believe, does Zacchaeus say while you control another thief? While another thief is in play, negate enhancements in opponent's territories. So because the Highwayman is in play, Good Seed should be negated here. But it looks like they missed that. Yeah, I don't see anything turning off Zacchaeus. So yeah, good Seed should not have worked there. And now Jake's moving into battle with Zerubbabel. Get some good card advantage here. Just keep on going. I don't know, he could. I mean, if he really wanted the card advantage, I suppose he could just go with Watchful Servant, draw 3, and then ban to Persistent Widow to draw 2 more. But I think he wants to fish out a post-exilic hero here, which is probably Akeem. Turn off Jay's neutral cards. I think specifically he's probably trying to turn off his Crowd's Lost Soul. Looks like, oh, okay. Jay accidentally put down Great Fish, meant to block with the Deceiver, and wanted to go to the Thief, but he could not do that. Okay. They are giving me the disclaimer that Jay just mentioned that they are playing the game at 4:30 a.m. or 4 something a.m. So that is probably to blame for at least part of the misplays. Um, so all right, they're just making excuses. All right, so Plunder's coming out, preventing and taking the first enhancement, banning to the Highwayman to draw 5, looks like is the count. The blue on Israel's bow does not count, so it's just the 4 brigades on Good Seed and the red on Zerubbabel. And then he banned to his own Zacchaeus to draw another 2. Okay, yeah, so Jake is opting to play Crowd's Choice to as good, I believe, to go get something from his deck, which is interesting here. I think okay, yeah, I can see that play going right to Amazing Faith there. I might have been tempted just to throw away Day of Judgment, like, you know, have it be prevented and then let Jay take it, and then play Axe of Solomon to get Amazing Faith instead. It seems like that would have spared him the use of Crowd's Choice there. But, you know, 410, 430, whatever they said. For some reason, I feel like they said 410. Maybe they said both at different times, and they just don't know what time it is, I guess. It's that early. They don't even know what time it is. Or something. And so here comes Amazing Faith, negating the draw on Zacchaeus. So Jay has to put those 2 cards back, and then negating the prevent, take, and banned on Plunderers. So Highwayman goes back safely to Jake's territory, and 3 woes. He gets to search up to his hand. And I believe that makes it a mutual for, actually, no. Yeah, should be mutual. But since Jake played last, then yep, Hurling Insults gets thrown down. And since it cannot be prevented if used by a thief, it works through Amazing Faith. And he gets to, underdeck Zerubbabel. So puts Jake in special initiative. He does not appear to have a negate here that he can play in battle, but he can use 3 woes to negate that. And 3 woes comes down as good to negate hurling insults. And Cerebral should be back in Meek. Yep, back as Meek. But because... So the way that playing a dominant in this situation works, because the character technically does leave play before you have the opportunity to play a dominant. You can't play a dominant in special initiative. So the character leaves play, and the enhancement is, Amazing Faith in this case, is discarded by game rule. Because it was discarded by game rule, then when you go back and negate the battle winner, negate hurling insults with 3 woes, or some other dominant, Chronicles of the Kings, another example, then it brings the hero back. It undoes the enhancement, but it doesn't undo the game rule that discarded Amazing Faith. So Amazing Faith stays in the discard pile, which means it's back to being Jake's regular initiative. So now we can play Axe of Solomon here and get some value off of that. Looks like he's going for Teaching in Parables. He gets to negate a card in a territory this turn. And look at Jay's hand here, which I'm covering up part of. There we go. So Jay's regretting not blocking with Foreign Wives here. But he did get a lot of drawing, so I don't know. It's a little bit of a toss-up what the best option there was, but wow, he's got 4 Covenants in his hand, which is a lot. Betrayal looks like is what Jake is going to be targeting with Teaching in Parables. We also see a Falling Away in Isaac. And Angel, did I say Angel of the Lord? Yeah. You can't reserve dominance with Teaching in Parables, so of course Falling Away would have been the ideal choice if he could, but he could not do that. And the way that Axe of Solomon works, if you're not aware, because it's an old card with old wording, it says place new card in hand after you do the exchange, which was intended to just be like clarifying text of you exchange, and that's where the card goes. But based on the current rules, that's not how exchange works. Exchange literally exchanges, so it goes from where this card was to where that card was. The card goes into play, it activates, and then the place new card in hand is kind of a separate part of the ability. And so then it bounces the enhancement that it exchanges for. So Teaching in Parables went back to Jake's hand, Axe of Solomon went to Jake's deck, and now he gets to play Teaching in Parables again to reserve something else, which looks like it's going to be the Great Fish. So, Jake's realizing that that Day of Judgment would not have worked either way, because Zerubbabel is not a New Testament hero. So I still maintain that I think the better play would have been Day of Judgment just prevent and take, and then use Amazing Faith off of the Axe of Solomon. Would have we had to search for another good dominant? I don't know. Maybe it's better to be able to use Teaching in Parables to do the the doubling effect of Axe of Solomon. But yeah, he did have to burn his Angel of the Lord now to get the Lost Soul, taking out Plunderers, which also he took out Zacchaeus because he took out all the evil from Jay's hand, except for the Falling Away, which after Jay surrendered a Lost Soul, he got to give him. He gave him the Lost Soul, and then he got to take it back with Falling Away. We're talking about whether or not playing Guardian is worth it in Classic because the Women's Falling Away is around, and Jay's opinion, or his interpretation of whether or not it's good is okay. Jake's just realizing that he could have banded to Jay's Zacchaeus, but and then he just said, "Oh, Jaden's gonna be like, oh, you finally realized it," which That I did. So they knew that I was going to be taking the recording of their game uh, before they played the game. So they're making comments about what I'm saying. Anyways, I got sidetracked there. Guardian is good in really fast decks. There are so many dominants that it's tough to. They just said it's they just said it's 2 in the morning now. Feels like 2 in the morning. Okay, all right. They're just trying to confuse me. I think that's what's going on. All right. Anyways, offering your son came down for Jay. He carved Behemoth from reserve and is attacking with Leah, who gets to Meekify a Patriarch to draw 2, and she can exchange with Jacob from Hand or Territory, but Jacob is in his discard pile, so that doesn't work. She is a 2/3 on her ability side. Um, so this time Jake would only get a draw 2 off of Highwayman. Otherwise, he can block with Uzza, discard his Confusion of Mind, and it's probably what I'd imagine he's going to do here. Yep. So, a little unfortunate. He has to get rid of his Confusion of Mind, especially against the offense that Jay's running. It relies a lot on hero abilities. Versus Abraham is CBN, but I think that's probably the only hero that it I can think that Jay's offense would be running. Um, but I don't know. Oh boy, that was a good draw for Jake. Snagging the storehouse that Jay just drew and just put down, and just doing it with a star ability. The Purloin star ability is really great. Not on the first turn, but on any turn after that. It's awesome. Very strong card. Technically, the storehouse should be in his hand, and if you put it down already, then he missed his upkeep triggers, but he's updating his woes to crowds. I think they're being pretty lax about that. I mean, it's a very minimal error, or kind of it's an easy error to make, and if you're just playing a like even a casual I mean even a casual official tournament game, like it'd be fine with that. Really like casual or kind of like low level, I guess. And this is an unofficial tournament, so they can do whatever they want, more or less. Um, Unofficial tournament that Jay is hosting, nonetheless. So of course he can make up any rules he wants to. What? Okay, yeah. So he took Faith of Gideon with Storehouse, or not with Storehouse, with Good Seed. Wait, he took You Will Remain with Storehouse. So that he shouldn't have been able to do. That I would, definitely not. Uh, yeah, that would definitely not be acceptable. If you take a card, the default is it goes to your hand. Otherwise, it would say take to territory, like Remnant says. Um, so Storehouse should have been at Jake's hand, and then he wouldn't have had it in play yet for the getting the upkeep trigger. But that's all right. All right, so Jehu is coming out. He mentioned that he forgot to do it last turn. He could have done that to Zerubbabel. It would have ran out of evil cards, I think, in Jay's hand to target. Oh, I guess Foreign Wives is still in there. Um, but yeah, so Jehu gets to exchange with somebody. I guess at that point when he attacked, the crowd's lost soul was active, so not sure if he would have actually gotten to really forced Jay to discard an evil card or not. Guess I'm not sure what the order on that would have been, with adding Zerubbabel, converting to Meek, and then playing Akeem. Hmm. Yeah, I'm not sure exactly when Jehu's trigger resolves. I'll have to find out about that. Exchanging to Watchful Servant. Watchful Servant gets to draw X equal to the number of opponent's heroes. Limit 3, so he got to draw 3 here. Drew a Humble Lost Soul, and he's banning to Bartimaeus. So he gets to reveal a good dominant to go get a good gold gospel enhancement from his discard pile after he reserves the top card of a deck, which happens to be the Deceiver. Jake opts to play maybe play a dominant before J blocks. I guess he's deciding not to. He could have decided to take Humble, but that's not going to actually do anything. Humble will still be active for the battle phase. So yeah, Jay blocked with Ashamed Woman. Grab Belshazzar's Banquet from reserve. Pretty sweet chump block there. Let's see. Yeah, and she's only a 2/2 on the evil side there. So yeah, it's a pretty easy chump block to pull off there. Taking the Bell's Banquet from reserve, discarding all evil characters in battle to protect Lost Souls from rescue this turn. And Jake is now trimming cards out of his hand, puts down his Nebuchadnezzar, discards the Faith of Abraham and Abraham from his hand, and has to put down one more card before he can pass the turn. Jay gets to draw his 3. No more Lost Souls there. Puts down an Ark of Salvation. Beginning his prep phase, activates Covenant with Philistia, which allows each player to take an animal from reserve. And if he does, he gets to draw 2. And because it's in set-aside area, it works around Akeem, because Akeem negates opponent's neutral cards, but he can only target neutral cards in opponent's territory, or cards in play. And so because Noah's Ark is in set-aside area, and it holds a blue covenant, then you can activate the artifact side of the covenant there in set-aside, and it does not get negated by Akeem. So that's kind of a nice trick there. It's something you could also do with James the Fisherman. He negates all neutral cards, so negates your own as well. But that would be kind of a workaround, as having something like Noah's Ark, which is in set aside and allows you to activate an artifact, or lets a covenant there. So you can get around that a little bit. So yeah, Jake got the Great Fish, got to draw a couple cards. Went out with Isaac to draw a couple more cards because he controls a meek hero. Does not play Jacob or Isaac from deck or reserve. Or Jacob or Esau, he's Isaac. Jacob, as we discussed last turn, is in his discard pile, and Esau probably isn't in the deck. Looks like he's mostly thieves with a little bit of animals splashiness going on, which makes sense. Behemoth is good for both offense and defense, and Great Fish is, I mean, it's, I don't know, I would do like Firefoxes before Great Fish, but maybe he's got a Jonah splashed in there somewhere. Alright, a Mocking Thief is coming down and taking an enhancement from Jay's deck, which in the mirror match is kind of brutal for Jay. Because now, not only does Jake have his own Seized by Babylon, but he's got Jay's as well. And now he's playing his Seized by Babylon to capture up to X heroes, which is a number of good brigades in battle. There's only one, so he's targeting Isaac. And Isaac is In Special Initiative, he gets to use Covenant with Adam to negate an evil card, reveal crowd's choice to return it to his hand after battle. See how many more negates Jay has. We know he has at least one more with Covenant with Noah. So he's playing Purloin to interrupt the battle, which interrupts the last enhancement played by, uh, if it was played by an opponent. And then if he takes Covenant with Adam, so he interrupts the negate of Seized by Babylon, then takes Covenant with Adam such that the negate now will no longer, or would not be there to reactivate, which that puts Jay back in Special Initiative from Seized by Babylon. He's back to being captured, and that means that Jay gets to play Behemoth to negate Seized by Babylon. So they're talking about how the negative stats work on enhancements. Um, and whether or not, if he played his own Seized by Babylon, if that would reduce his numbers too much. With the Purloin, it wouldn't matter, but the way that it works is that at the end of the battle, if your total toughness is less or 0 or less, then you would be discarded at that point. You're not actually discarded during the battle because it doesn't decrease your character. Um, so it's like during the battle resolution checks, which at least I'm pretty sure that's still the rule. That's how it was at one point. I want to say that's still the case. Since it's not actually decreasing the character's numbers, then it only is during battle resolution that it checks what the character's kind of total toughness is with the enhancements. Which even that doesn't really make sense to me with the way that enhancements work. They don't actually like buff your character. They don't increase the character's numbers. So it seems kind of weird to me. And that's why I'm trying to think if that actually like changed at some point, because uh, it seems like something that could change for me. Um, and anyways, Jay put down the thief, played wages, grabbed Uzzah from his reserve because Deceiver is now in his reserve, so it's probably his only other way to get to Uzzah. And then he passed the turn. Jake is activating his storehouse, which um, they mentioned that. Okay, so I guess last turn he did Good Seed to take You Will Remain, and then Storehouse he took Faith of Gideon, which, if he could have used both of those, he could have done those the other way. He mentioned that um, I would catch the fact that he took a New Testament enhancement with Storehouse last turn. I didn't actually catch that part. I didn't realize which one he took with which, but I did realize that he couldn't have used Storehouse at all that turn. He put down Sheol. See, I guess, yeah, I took Scattered with Storehouse this turn. He took Talitha Kum with Good Seed this turn, and put down the Sheol, which he does have Unity for. Part of the problem with me listening to them while doing the commentary and you guys not listening to them is that I talk over them in order for there to not be dead space or like dead air. But that becomes confusing to me because, when you're listening to somebody else talking and you're talking over them, then you tend to say the words that they're saying, and you also kind of I want to listen to them as well so that I know what's going on. But I think eventually I'll just get used to the point, or used to the idea of just talking over them and not caring. Like, I don't care what they say. I know what they're doing. But then I'll be playing one of them at some point, and they'll just be talking, and I'll start talking over them. Just be super rude, but it's okay right now. They can't hear me, but it's a risky thing to get used to. So the Jehu gets to use Israel's bow and make Jay discard another evil card from hand, which Jay moves or discards the thief, which I guess it's hand or territory. So he discarded the thief from his territory, exchanged again to Watchful Servant to get another draw 3, bans again to Bartimaeus, which, yeah, that's just a pretty brutal attack that Jake is able to keep on repeating here. Just draw 3, reserve the top card of your deck, and then get some stuff back from his discard pile, and also make Jay discard evil cards. Yeah, Jake definitely has the momentum in this game, despite it only being 1-1, and one of those being the one that, or the only one that Jake has rescued was with Son of God, but his card advantage is, I was gonna say it was really big, then I realized that their deck size is actually, like, Jay only has 7 cards left in deck. How did that happen? I guess he did draw, like, he drew 4 extra cards last turn? Man, his start was fast, but yeah, I don't know. I guess Jake was able to just take out enough of Jay's resources here to, cripple him enough. So, yeah, after the battle, Jake plays his 1 territory class enhancement for the turn, which was Teaching in Parables to reserve the Highwayman from Jay's hand. And not that he's, I guess, too concerned about him drawing too many cards, just the fact that he'd be able to borrow his offense, or his defense, that Jake did not really want Jay to have the potential to do. So let's see, Jake's at 11 cards left, and he probably wants to keep that second coming in hand to keep on triggering Bartimaeus, or at the very least, if he did, he would play it and keep the Dominating Search for in his hand. And so he is deciding to use the store ability on Storehouse here to ship some enhancements to his reserve. Probably doesn't need Axe of Solomon anymore. I'm not sure if he has any targets left. And Talithakum and Faith of Gideon are kind of more situational enhancements, so he can select those out with Good Seed. Don't get them with Storehouse because they're New Testament. And alright, Jay finally found his Son of God here in order to rescue the Remnant and get that Jehu back. We'll see if Jake draws his Falling Away here to take him right back. That'd be kind of funny. Okay, so Jay now has a Numerous as the Stars, which is kind of what he needed to get him back into the game. Revealing 5 star cards from his hand. Wow, that's crazy. Which allows him to take up to that many human heroes from deck, discard pile, or reserve. I think those are the only locations, but it's all 3. He gets to search all 3 locations. So of course he goes back to Abraham, probably going back to Jacob. Yep, and who else has he lost here? Oh yeah, Simeon, that's right. Yep, he can get Forgiven Woman or Shamed Woman back, and he can grab Joshua out of reserve. And now Jake is activating his Sheol, which even though Jay got to search 3 different locations, it's just 1 search ability, so only is 1 trigger for Sheol, similar to like Harvest Time. It's play that many Lost Souls from each deck, so it's 1 search ability, even though it's multiple locations that it targets. If it was like, take this many heroes from deck and then take this many heroes from reserve, that would be 2 search abilities. Alright, well, Jay has a formidable offense once again. So Jehu's coming out again. At this point, Jake definitely has pretty solid defense sitting there. So we'll see if Jay can poke through here with his 10 cards in hand. We saw those 5 stars, which none of them really seem to have any big battle implications. It's like Enosh and an angel and a hero, and Enosh was the other hero. Yeah, just some star stuff that I don't think really did much for him. So anyways, Jehu's coming out, bouncing somebody, Judah, it looks like. Yep. And then forcing Jake to discard an evil from hand or territory. Once again, I'm not sure when that trigger actually happens. I feel like it's after the exchange, because that's the wording, but I don't know. Like, normally stuff goes in the order that the ability reads. When it's on the same card. If you're doing multiple things at the same time, then the abilities activate in a certain order where like adding characters to battle comes last. But on a specific card, you do things in the order that they're listed, and the exchange is listed first for Jehu before the using a weapon. But I think the weapon activates before the exchange. So I don't know if that triggers, and then that has to resolve before the exchange. I don't know. In most cases, it doesn't really matter. But, I guess in this case, it'd be like, okay, well, where does Jake might want to know what the rest of the heroes in battle are going to be in order to decide like which evil card he's going to discard, which I think it made sense for him to get rid of Nebuchadnezzar in this case either way, because he's running out of cards in his deck to go searching for, and he's got plenty of thieves that he would rather block with. So, yeah, here comes the thief. He can negate a good card in a territory. He can negate Jehu, which brings Jehu back into battle, and Nebuchadnezzar comes back. That's a pretty solid play. And now he can actually discard his Nebuchadnezzar with the thief to take Jehu. Nebuchadnezzar should be back in his territory here. He's negating that, but he's just going to discard the Forgiven Woman instead, which he actually can't do because of Herod's Temple protecting her. But, and once again, they're doing the take part wrong where the weapon should go to Jay's hand, but I feel like that's a rule that not many people know, and the fact that not many people know it kind of actually makes me question it in my head right now. Oh, I should probably look that up. I'm just going to do it. The thief is going to exchange for Highwayman, and you guys can just watch for a second while I look this up here. Come on, REG, hurry up and load. So he's going to his deck for a fortress with the Highwayman. Okay, what was I looking up again? Take. I'm gonna look for take. Take and give. Wonder if it's even mentioned on here. Any cards that follow a card that is taken or given to a hand are returned to their owner's hands, as the following cards were not taken or given and do not have anything taking precedence over the cards are only in their owner's hands aspect of face value. So, at face value, Israel's bow would go to its owner's hand because it was not being taken by the thief's ability. Only Jehu was being taken, then it should go back to Jay's hand. So, learn how to play the game, guys. Jeez, yeah, that's a complicated rule, and even it's even the best players kind of don't think about that sort of thing because the situation just doesn't come up all that often. But with Jake just taking everything from Jay here, it's bound to happen, I guess. All right. So looks like Jay's heroes got scattered there, underdecked, and could not be negated. And he put down a Joshua and passed the turn. So Jake drew a Restoring the Afflicted, using the star ability to resurrect the Forgiven Woman that he shouldn't have been able to discard because of Herod's Temple. Come on, guys, read your cards. Not like you have like 15 cards on the table to keep track of there, Jake. Come on. Yeah, it's something to know. Even if you have an option to discard one of your own cards, if that card is protected from the card that's giving you that option, you can't discard it. Looks like Jerusalem is being used here, so in his upkeep, he can reserve a random card from his deck to take a NT card from reserve. The way that you reserve a random card from your deck is by shuffling your deck and then just reserving the top card. Happen to be Galileans, which, of course, Lost Souls default to going in play if they're reserved. That's why you reveal any card that goes to your reserve from your deck. It still counts as being reserved for the purposes of a card like Jerusalem, so you're still paying the cost. It still satisfies the cost. It's just a different default location. It's like a card being drawn in your hand, just defaults to going in play. It doesn't, I guess, count as a card drawn because you replace it just for cards that count the number of cards that you've drawn. Muscles don't count for that. Which I don't know, maybe that's kind of confusing, but that's just the difference between drawing and reserving, I guess. Kind of sounds hand wavy, but just take my word for it. Okay, so now Jake is doing the rest of his upkeep triggers here. I guess so. Jerusalem, he took Faithful Servant? Yeah, Faithful Servant. Storehouse. What did he take with what did he take with Good Seed? He took Axe of Solomon with with Storehouse. I thought everything that he has in there was already in there. But I could be wrong. Oh, maybe he took Anthropophobia. Probably. So Jay, who's coming down, the Israel's bow that should be in Jay's hand is now on him. I'll let it go, I promise. But I mean, it is significant in this case because Jay is low on cards, especially defense. So getting to or having to discard another evil card is going to be detrimental for him. So Jake plays Betrayal to see what Jay's got going on in there. And he went so fast. But we saw some good enhancements like First Sacrifice and a few other not too important things. What did he select? That's important. We can go back. We can go back just a tiny bit. Okay, Betrayal. Coming back down. I want to look at his hand again. Okay. Forgiven Woman. Great Fish. Crowd's Choice. 3 visitors. First Sacrifice. Offering your son a virgin birth. Okay, so kind of just some territory class enhancements that don't really matter. Okay, yeah, it goes with the Crowd's Choice. That makes sense. But it just goes onto the bottom of Jay's now 5-card deck. Faithful Servant comes down. And Jehu comes out. Doesn't bounce anybody, I don't think. Yeah, no reason to really bounce anything at this point. Exchanges to Faithful Servant, protecting Lost Souls from evil cards. Probably banning to Watchful Servant. Yep. It's the servant collaboration here. They're coming in. Jake gets a draw 3, finds a hopper. I'm a little cold, so I'm going to bring up my blanket. And there's a Crowd's Lost Soul in Jake's hand that he's supposed to put down and replace, but it looks like he didn't realize that his replacement for Hopper was another Lost Soul. But he'll figure that out. Jay just goes ahead and resolves Jehu by discarding the Great Fish from his hand. And Jake's trying to figure out who to ban to here, which he technically should do before looking at his discard pile, but in Lackey it's pretty easy to just boop boop look at that other pile. But when you are in a tournament, like an official tournament, just while you are resolving abilities, you're technically not supposed to look at any other piles. Looks like he found his Lost Soul. And draws another card to replace it. Alright, that's not a Lost Soul. You can keep that one in your hand, Jake. Good job. Forgiven Woman, allowing him to exchange something to reserve. So he got his New Testament enhancement back after all, that he had to take Exalment of Storehouse because of his Old Testament. And now he can get back to the New Testament enhancement that he really wanted. So, yeah, it's just kind of a working around. So I guess Jay wants to get some drawing here. Which, I mean, that's pretty much all he's, all the options he had by the looks of it. So Shamed Woman banning to Jake's Highwayman and getting a draw 5. The same 4 colors on Good Seed, and then the red on Drupal. And he decides not to ban, so it is now Jay's initiative, unless Jake opts to play a dominant here. He could play Grapes, but he would actually get to make a new rescue. Honestly, that probably would be a decent play here. Discard Shamed Woman, shuffle his Highwayman back in, and then push in a character with initiative. Oh, interesting. That's a kind of a cool play there. So Jay played Wages to search Reserve for Persian Horsemen, and he added it to battle, able to discard an artifact, and because it is a Persian itself, it triggers off of itself to get the take from reserve, so he took Haman's plot from his reserve. Just a thief defense that doesn't even seem to be using Den of Thieves, but he still found a way to fit plot in there, of course, as Jay does. Looks like they're doing some mathing to figure out initiative here, and should still be Jay's initiative because his characters are pretty small except for the Highwayman. Like a 2-2, a 2-2, and then numbers on Wages, I believe they're just 2-2. It's not very often that I think about the numbers on Wages. And then Highwayman, I think, is a 7-5. That adds up to 13-11, so yeah, that makes sense. Looks like Jake is gonna let Jay play the plot here. And those 3 all get discarded. And now looks like he's gonna play the Grapes. Or no, he's gonna use goods. Oh. Oh, okay. Yeah, moves in Good Samaritan. That's kind of nice. And Jay drops the Woes to negate the Good Samaritan, add to battle part. Can reserve now his Good Seed to add a different character to battle. Feels like probably Bartimaeus in this case makes the most sense, but We'll see what he decides. Versus Umberto would be okay too, but he doesn't really need the drawing. He's got a lot of cards in hand. Can only draw one. And Jake is now a 3-4, so he's got plenty of initiative here. And plays Amazing Faith once again. Negates the Wages of Sin. So, yep, your main comes back. His other add to battle, or like battle extender. Oh, NT Gold has a lot of battle extending at their disposal. Negates the ban on Shamed Woman, and yeah, gives him enough numbers here to just be winning outright and finally get his first legitimate soul. Looks like he just put an Amazing Faith in his deck instead of his discard pile, but hopefully he'll figure that out. Oh, yep, he got it. All right. So now he has 15 cards in hand and has to put some stuff down here. Like he's got some stuff that he can kind of put down for free here, putting on Golden Cherubim. Angel of the Winds, usually a pretty safe card to put down. If you're at the end of the game like this, you might be better off just discarding Angel of the Winds. Just because if your opponent has a choose the rescuer, like choose the hero ability, then if your deck is empty, then Angel of the Winds is going to be a pretty easy target to oh, they're talking about how Jake could have targeted Shamed Woman with Betrayal, but he missed that. She was in Jay's hand, I guess. Son of God comes back with Second Coming here, and yeah, it doesn't really make sense for him to play it here, especially with Grapes in his hand. He wants to not have Redeemed Soul advantage. He's keeping Zacchaeus in his hand, which I don't know, with all the territory class stuff that it looked like Jay was running, I would probably just go ahead and put it down as an evil character. Then again, Jay could always just underdeck it with Joshua, but that would have to be in battle first, and Jay does have his woes down now for Storehouse negating, and okay, yeah, so Covenant with Philistia, Jay was able to take Scapegoat from his reserve, which might just delay be able to delay the game a little bit here. um, uh, hmm. Okay, well, Jay played the first sacrifice, and he negated Kingdoms of the World, which really he should have been negating the crowd's lost soul, so that he could actually target Jake's hand. I don't think anything else is oh, Enosh. Enosh is active. Okay, yeah. So Enosh is negating crowds. Storehouse negated by woes. So okay, yeah. So first sacrifice was legit there. Negating kingdoms makes sense because now he can get his dominance out of the way without having to worry about getting hit by kingdoms. And she looks like he underdecked the Zacchaeus in Jake's hand. pretty much because that was the only card that Nebby couldn't just go fetch. Maybe still would have been good to just like do the seized, because that kind of forces the issue, forces Jake to block with Nebby, which is if he wants Seized by Babylon. Um, um, let's see. Yeah, I think the fact that he would kind of be forced to block with Nebby in order to get the Seized by Babylon out would have been, made it ideal for Jay. Like, he doesn't really care about him blocking with Zacchaeus. Um, I guess Highwayman would draw one, two, three, four cards. So that would get Jake pretty much all the way to the bottom anyway. So, all right. So Jacob banning to Simeon. Simeon forcing the discard from hand or territory. His hand is not protected any longer, so he could have discarded one of his characters, but again, he just opts to discard the Nebuchadnezzar for what feels like the 8th time this game. Nebuchadnezzar is getting discarded to an ability that forces the discard. But and the thief is blocking here, negating Joshua the Conqueror and discarding Angel of the Winds in territory. I guess that's a reason to put Angel of the Winds down, if you're running the thief and you can just discard it to get that free take with the thief. That's pretty sweet. And exchanging now to Highwayman, who only gets to draw 3 because he took away the Joshua, who was adding a brigade with the gold there. Fauna's falling away, and a Bell's Banquet there. Yeah, that's a pretty strong draw. Personally, I would probably ban 2 Plunderers and then play Seized by Babylon to capture the heroes in battle. Alright, yep, looks like that's what's going on. So he's going to be preventing the next enhancement. And they're predicting the end of the game here, that they're kind of doing it like a chess sort of thing, where Jay is like, he's kind of saying like, oh, you've got checkmate in 2, basically. Where in 2 turns, Jake is going to win 5-2 because Jake's not going to be able to get through, and he's not going to be able to block. Jake's gonna be able to play Falling Away. Jay's going to be able to play Second Coming for Son of God, and end up at 2, and Jake's gonna be able to get in. And I feel like now that they've had that kind of checkmate in 2 conversation, they're already starting the game analysis part, so they're talking more than playing. But that's all right. I can talk more than they play too. And looks like now both players have decked out. All the Lost Souls are on the table. All the cards are on the table, so to speak. Or is it, they have pretty much everything at their disposal that they're going to the course of this game. I wonder if Jay is probably out of evil characters. He's got Scapegoat, but that's probably it. I think he opted not to do it just out of like a courtesy, so that they wouldn't time out, because he knew that how the game was already going to end. Jay's telling him just to go ahead and get into to battle because he doesn't have anything. And yep, so Jay plays his crowd's choice as good to just make sure it doesn't get hit by a Jehu or something like that. And he goes to the second coming, which was put in his reserve earlier in the game by Bartimaeus. And now Jehu's coming in, Jay's discarding Scapegoat, and Bartimaeus is coming in to get Amazing Faith from his discard pile. So yeah, the thing about Jake's deck is that like NT Gold, I don't think is like all that powerful. Like I don't think there's a whole lot of punch necessarily, but it is super resilient. I mean, like it's got all the add to battles, it's got all the um, it's got all of the or it's got a lot of recursion, and like if this hero is discarded, or defeated on Persistent Widow, like she keeps coming back. Bartimaeus keeps getting stuff back. Like there's a lot that it just keeps it alive. So in the long game, which like I think that's what Jake's deck is kind of built for, is like to go into the mid to late game and kind of start swinging all of that advantage. Whereas Jay's deck, it seeks to get kind of a quick start and just put the pressure on right away. And Jake was able to kind of like not cave early, basically. Like he had enough to discard after, or enough to block a 3-character band, 3-hero band after Jay forced him to discard 2 evil cards from his opening hand. So that was just like pretty much like sealed the game right there, is what they were saying. That like that just determined things right there. The fact that Jake was able to recover on that first turn, which just goes to show how good Highwayman is, I guess. Like getting that draw, getting the draw 5 on that was just ridiculous. I mean, it kept Jake in the game, whereas if he didn't have that, then I think Jay might have been able to keep that early pressure on and just not not allow Jake to catch up there. Which so NT Gold, I guess, like it's not necessarily lacking power, but I guess maybe like the power and speed, like they're both just kind of medium. Like they're not like if you're really fast, then it'll kind of, you can give the appearance of being more powerful. Or if you're just powerful, then you don't necessarily need to be all that fast. But NT Gold is kind of right in the middle, but it's like super resilient, so it kind of gets its power, I guess, from there. Maybe punch is a better word than power there, because like power is good, but um, it's the punch aspect of that where it can just kind of always get through with its battle winners. Just are, they're all pretty soft, negatable. So except for Amazing Faith, that card's pretty good. And teaching Bearables, that's great. So all right, they're talking about their decks here, and Jay is kind of admiring Jake's deck and talking about how he was thinking about, he was like, send me your deck list because I want to use it next weekend at the classic weekend Type 1-2 player, which he didn't end up doing. He ended up doing his flood deck, which ended up being a good call for him. Yeah, they were talking about what other classic swaps that Jake could make, because if you haven't noticed, Jake's deck is pretty like almost entirely rotation. He made a few swaps on defense. There's not really a whole lot that his offense could get. Like, there's pretty much nothing for NT Gold and Classic. If anything, you could just add some, like, Judge's Splash is kind of what they were talking about here, getting a little extra speed from Angel into the Oak, and, maybe Gideon, Sam's Edict, Moses, a few splashy cards like that. Amazing Faith with Moses is pretty good. Sam's Edict by itself is just great. It's pretty flexible, like getting the negate and the discard that are like separated that can target different cards. Means that it's good even if you're not playing in CBN. Obviously, it's best if it cannot be negated if you're playing in a Meek, Judge. Meek Hero, right? I don't know if it necessarily has to be a Judge or Samuel, but yeah, I don't think that Jake's deck necessarily needs that. So yeah, it'd be kind of tough to fill that in, or to squeeze that in, I guess. All right, should we just listen to their analysis? I think I can turn that on for you guys.
Yes. Although this deck doing what it did, it makes me think that there's actually some hope for.
No, that deck's insane. like that turn one attack blew me away. I'm like, you're already discarding 2 cards from my hand. This is too early to deal with this. I think, like, I knew, like, I could save Highwayman. Like, I did not want to get rid of Condemned Thief because, like, him and Highwayman and Condemned Thief is always like, that's a gold standard block there on turn 1.
Yeah.
But
well, I want to keep talking, but
yeah, you gotta go. Sorry.
Today's the day that I work in the site that's an hour away, so
yes.
I gotta be there. So
of course, as soon as we start listening to them, that's
I'm gonna go walk the dog real quick, go to the bathroom, get my clothes on, get out of here.
Appreciate it, bro. Thank you. Have a good day.
Cut it off. So, all right, that was the game. It was a good game. We saw, I think, both decks kind of got to do a bit, or most really, of what they were trying to do, or kind of got to showcase what the goal was. Jay's deck, maybe not quite as much as Jake's. He got off to really fast start with being able to empty his entire hand and play Mayhem. That's just a recipe for having a pretty good offensive start and getting the pressure on right away, and that's what he was trying to accomplish there. Putting, especially with that hand pressure, having both Jehu and Simeon, it's as they were saying, it's impressive and ended up being very important that Jake was able to get that first block there, hanging on to Highwayman and being able to replenish his hand with that. Trying to think if there was any way that Jay could have avoided that, or like if he wasn't playing Jehu, he could have gotten a few brigades off of the table. I don't think he would have had red down, so I think it would have just been blue and green. And then he wouldn't have had the purple from Jehu, so that would have reduced it a little bit. But he would have had to have like another weapon, I guess, so that he could have Israel's bow on Abraham or something like that to bounce Jehu once he was in territory, which didn't really have it in the cards for him. So, but it is a cool deck. It's a different way that to play Genesis. That's not really seen a whole lot. I think the Cloud Abraham is kind of the one that is seeing more play these days, but not necessarily in this kind of hand control fashion that Jay is doing there. So that was kind of cool to see something different from him there. Not have to see Flood every time that we see Jay play. I was a little bit concerned. I couldn't remember, or I was pretty sure that he wasn't playing Flood. But I know that Jay playing Flood has been featured on the channel here a lot lately, so figure you guys are probably tired of that. Maybe not. I don't know. I don't necessarily get tired of seeing Jay play because he's a great player, and watching him pilot Flood in particular, which he's very experienced with, just getting to see like his decision making and stuff last week in the live stream, and when I'm playing against him, seeing the way that he pilots that deck, it's really something special. So yeah, again, if you haven't watched the live stream from last week, you should go check that out. And with that, I think that's where we're gonna call the video here. Final score: Jake won 5-2. So they both still ended up making it into top cut, just because Jay went undefeated in the rest of his games. Jake went undefeated as well, I believe, throughout the entirety of the Swiss rounds. I think he tied or timed out. I think he timed out one game. Yeah, it was just 3 rounds of Swiss. So yeah, Jake, he won 2 games with full win, and then won the other game with a timeout in round 1, I believe. And Jay, this was his only loss in Swiss. He won the other 2 games, and so that's what got him in a top cut as well. They ended up meeting again in top cut in the first round. So if you go watch the live stream, you can see how the revenge game went for Jay. If you have seen the results but haven't seen the game might not go as you'd expect. So I'll just put it that way, I guess. But anyways, that's where we're going to wrap up the video for today. So thank you all for watching, and we'll catch you next time.